Okay, Jason Moomaw, JM on the fly. And today I'm going to show you my little trout worm. We had all kinds of new stuff coming around with the squirmy worm and everything else. This thing is just, this thing going to knock them all out of the water. We've got a weighted head, beautiful worm body, float up top. We got a hook in that float. There's a line connected to it. This one here happens to be an 8-pound test, connected to another hook here at the bottom, and this thing will just drop down through and wiggle in the water and do all kinds of neat stuff. Catch a lot. I use it. It's a trout. I call it a trout worm. So we'll call it a JM trout worm. And let me show you how we tie this. Let me take a little closer look at what we got here. Center this a little bit. There you go. You can see this guy. Again, hook built into the back with a float. That'll come up in the air. This has a clouser type of lead eye in it, so that will ride hook up at the bottom. Hook at the bottom, hook at the top. I have a little bit of 8-pound test connecting the two, so when you get a hit, not tearing no pressure on the chenille. So let's show you how we tie this. 94-840 size 10 dry fly hook. Okay, and the next thing we're going to do is take some 1/4-inch cylinder foam, whatever you want, whatever color. This happens to be a gray. Going to take a small snip of that, and we're going to feed it onto our threader. Okay, so we took that little piece of foam, we put it on our threader. Now we just simply take this chenille. I like this chenille the best. This is Trilobal Antron chenille, okay, and it's a hairline product. And this one here just happens to be a fluorescent pink, so you could check that out. Either way, you could take this, heat it up, pinch it. Put that, you see how we have a little hole in there? Put that through there. Pull it through. And then slide your piece in onto the piece like that, so that you end up with the foam on the chenille. Okay? And we're going to just, I had to cut the back a little bit, so we're just going to heat that and melt that, okay? And then you can meld it so it looks kind of wormy, something like that, looking pretty good. Okay, wet your fingers before you touch that. And that'll be the tip of our tail. I can slide that foam up a little bit and shorten that length. That's about right, something like that. Starter thread, a regular 3/0 thread on this is perfectly fine. Take a 3/0 thread. We're going to tie onto the shank. I'm going to take a razor blade and I'm just going to split that straight down just a little bit. So we're just going to take a thin razor blade and cut right down that. I got this razor blade sitting here somewhere. There it is, of course. Always where you don't want it. Okay, anyway, I'm just going to slit that foam. Okay, not the whole way through. Just put a nice little slit in, so that could rest on the hook with the tail pointing back, okay? And I want to put this so it's right on top, just like that. Okay? Again, I'm going to come right around the back. We'll wrap that in. 3 wraps there, and now I'm going to work my thread up to the front. I'm going to flip this upside down and now I'm going to show you, see that little crack in there? And I could actually zoom in a little closer here. Oh, zoom in, not out. There we go. Zoom in a little closer so you can see. See the gap? That goes around the shank of the hook. Okay, and I'm going to push that onto the shank of the hook just like that. And now I'm going to take my Bondic and I am going to put a bead, again laying that tail where I want it and putting that, filling that crack. Okay, so I'm just filling that crack right there, just like that. Okay, holding that right where I want it and hitting it with the light. And that'll hold that right there in place. And that foam is glued fast to the shank now, just like that. Okay, that's all there is to it. Pretty simple little deal. We're going to make a wrap around, one or two wraps around the chenille tight to the foam, and then we go underneath and wrap and whip finish. Okay, so we'll grab our whip finish tool and we'll whip finish that guy off. Beautiful. Whip finish that off just like that. Cut that off. Now you come in with your marker and you just color this whatever color you want. I have dark ones, I have light ones. This is just kind of an orangey color. Or you don't have to mark it at all. I'll buy these things already red or pink or whatever the 1/4 inch. By the way, that's 1/4 inch regular foam, cylinder foam. And you can get that in different rolls and or little snips, but it's that's pretty much what it is. In fact, that's 3/16 what I'm using for this fly. It's not 1/4 inches. 3/16. It's a finer. It's smaller than the 1/4. Okay, our next step. We're gonna have to connect this to the other piece. 8-pound test. Doesn't matter if it's mono or fluorocarbon or whatever. Take your fly. Let's do a loop knot. Okay, so we're going to put a loop knot in this. And I come through here. And I prefer a loop knot because it stays flexible. So if you don't know how to tie a loop knot, you shouldn't even be fishing. Just learn how. Just learn how to do it. There's plenty of videos out there on this stuff. Anyway, that's a loop knot, and you can see when I say a loop knot, I mean it's a loop. Okay, so that keeps that nice and wiggly. Alright, put your hook back into the vise, straight down, just like that. Grab your 8-pound line and your Bondic. I'm going to actually put the camera down a little bit so you can see a little better what I'm doing. Let me move it over a bit too. Okay, I'm gonna actually adhere with Bondic the line to the chenille just by putting a dot, teeny little dot on that and hitting it with the light. Okay, that's it. Just not enough to interfere with anything, just a teeny little dot just to keep the line against. I'm going to do that in 2 spots. One about 1 inch down and one about 2 inches down from the foam. Okay, again, hit that with the light. And you can see that just keeps it tight to the body. Doesn't really interfere with anything. And when it's all said and done, we have that attached just like that. You can see that is attached just like that. Okay, take this off. We could adjust our length of our worm by adjusting this. Okay, so we got that in there. We're going to put our worm back end and we're just going to hook it right on to that just for now. Just let that hang. Grab another 94-840 hook. Okay, put that in the vise. Put the lid in this Bondic before I get too carried away here. Okay, and again, start your thread. The easiest way that I seem to do this, and it's very simple. I've tied many of them, so if you stick with these directions, you'll have no problem. Size small, barbell, lead eyes. and I want them about in the center of that hook. So if you look at where that's at, that's about dead center of the shank, okay? Doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be pretty close to that. Okay, and that is on a size 10, 94/840. We're going to seize this thing and lock it in really good. And with your line right above the barbells. Eyes again, you bring that into play. You got both the chenille and the line, pulling both of them just snug, not tight, nothing like that. Okay, we're going to do 1, 2, 3 wraps above the eyes in the front, and then 1, 2, 3 wraps behind. We're going to take this piece of wire, piece of 8-pound test, and we're going to come under the eyes. We're going to come under the eyes, make a wrap around the back end, come back around the front like this, and then come back around the back again. So we're basically wrapping the mono to the shank of the hook. Now we're going to tie that off. A couple wraps there, and work your thread to the front of the hook. Just like that. Get rid of that excess. Get rid of your mono. Okay. Now all we're going to do is just take this whole thing and spin it upside down. Super glue, Loctite. That's what I use. Whatever you want in super glue. Put a bead right there in between the two eyes and into the center. Take your chenille. Let's come back and around this side, wrap around, back around the front, and tie off, okay? Just like that. You're basically just covering the head any way that you can, okay? That's basically all you're doing, just covering that head any way you can. And again, finish a nice little head in the front. Let's get rid of this excess. Whip finish. Whip finish, cut that off. And that is the JM Worm, and you'll see how this works. The lead eyes, of course, make it sink. The foam makes it want to float. So the more you bounce this thing in the water, the more it does the old wormy hoochie coochie as it's going down the creek, and they just suck it in. So it's the new, I don't know, I consider it the new cheater fly. So we had cheater flies for life. Everybody had cheater flies. Cheater flies being nothing else is going on, nothing else is working, so what do we pull out? Well, we pull out things like the mop fly, squirmy, eggs, all your cheater flies, anything that you would use that you would normally not use to fool these fish into doing something. This is the newest invention, I believe, the newest cheater fly in the trout series. And again, because you can pull on this all you want, because all you're doing is pulling on the 8-pound test. So you're not going to damage your chenille. Okay? That's the key to the fly. You could pull that fish in on either the back hook or the front hook. It doesn't matter. And that is the JM Trout Worm. A little unorthodox. Again, it's my own creation. I have a heavier, big one for bass. But this one is the trout version. JM Trout Worm, JM on the fly, and I am out of here.